I'd been with for over 5 years. We met in college, clicked instantly, and everything seemed smooth, until it was. Our wedding was only a few weeks away, and I'd been planning this day for months. Every detail, every guest, every promise I made to myself about starting a life with her. I never imagined the ground underneath me would crack so suddenly. It started with a phone call from a friend named Jake. We'd gone out for beers the night before, just the usual. I was feeling pretty good, already imagining us standing at the altar. Then Jake called me, voice tight and shaky. "Hey man, I saw she was with her boss at that hotel downtown," he said, hesitating just enough to make my stomach turn. "They weren't alone, I think you should know." My heart skipped. I felt my palms go cold, sweat prickling at my forehead. I asked him to repeat himself, but even then I knew what I'd heard. With her boss at a hotel. The one she'd been telling me was just a late-night work thing. It sounded suspicious enough, but hearing it from Jake, in that tone of concern, made it hit differently. I spent the next several hours in a fog, staring at my phone, waiting for more details. I kept replaying that day, trying to find signs I'd missed. Had been acting strange lately, more distant, distracted, always brushing off my questions about her late nights. She'd say she was working late or meeting clients. I trusted her maybe too much. Now I wondered if I'd missed the signs of her lying right in front of me. That night I rummaged through her things. I didn't want to believe it, but I needed proof. Her phone was on the nightstand, glowing with unread messages. I grabbed it, heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. Her messages with her boss were right there, flirty, suggestive, full of references to special nights. I felt my stomach turn over, rage bubbling up alongside betrayal. How could she do this? How could she lie to my face all this time? I didn't confront her yet. I just stared at the screen, feeling the weight of it all crushing down on me. I remembered how she'd looked at me on our last date, so happy, so in love. How stupid was I? I'd been blind. The pieces clicked into place and I realized I'd been played. She'd been lying, cheating on me with her boss, probably during the whole courtship, hiding it well enough that I never suspected a thing. I knew I needed a plan, not just to confront her, that would come soon enough, but to get back at her, to even the score. I wasn't going to be the fool she thought I was. I wanted her to feel the way I did, betrayed, humiliated, and powerless. I had to think carefully, revenge in a way that would hurt but wouldn't destroy everything. The thought of her face, her smug smile, while she thought she'd gotten away with it, made my fists clench. I started gathering evidence. I installed a hidden app on her phone to log her calls and messages. I also found her email chain with her boss, full of plans for secret meetings and special weekends. I saved everything, backed it up. I even bought a small GPS tracker and slipped it into her purse. I needed to know where she was going, who she was seeing, every step of the way. It was sickening, really, watching her actions through that tiny tracker, knowing she thought she was still in control. I felt a strange mix of disgust and determination. Whatever I did next, it had to hit her hard. I wanted her to feel the same chaos I felt, like my world was crumbling all around me. I told myself I wouldn't blow up immediately. I'd wait for the right moment, gather everything, and then confront her in front of everyone. But part of me already knew she'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. I was done pretending. I was done trusting her. And as I sat there, staring at her phone screen, I realized I wasn't just planning to catch her red-handed. I was planning to make her regret ever thinking she could betray me and walk away unscathed. The best revenge, I figured, was to make her see the truth in the worst way possible. That's when I decided I'd give her one last chance to come clean. But if she didn't, I had something waiting. Something that would make her understand exactly how much she'd screwed up. And now, I just have to wait for the right moment to strike. The days that followed felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing I could fall at any moment but not yet jumping. I kept my cool, playing the perfect boyfriend, pretending everything was fine. Inside, I was boiling. Every glance at her, every innocent smile she threw my way felt like a lie. I could feel my jaw tighten when she brushed past me, scenting her perfume, something floral and sweet, except I knew it was all fake, just a mask hiding her guilt. I kept a close eye on her, watching her habits, listening for any slip-up. She'd leave her phone on the table, her purse by the door. I studied her routines, waiting for the moment that would give me the leverage I needed. One morning, she left her phone face down on the kitchen counter, and I saw my chance. I grabbed it while she was in the bathroom brushing her teeth. My fingers trembled slightly, but I managed to unlock it. I didn't expect much, maybe a missed call or a text from her boss, something to confirm what I already knew. But what I saw made my stomach turn more than I thought possible. There was an email thread, full of flirty messages, a lot of talk about meeting after hours, plans for secret weekends away. One message was from her boss saying, "Can't wait to see you tonight. I've got something special lined up." That was the moment I realized the full extent of her lies. She'd been planning this behind my back the entire time. My hands clenched so tightly I thought my knuckles would pop. I felt heat rising in my face, my vision blurring around the edges. I wanted to scream, but I kept calm. I needed to keep my composure so I could use this evidence at the right time. But inside, I was already planning what would come next. I took screenshots of every message, every plan, every lie. I backed up the entire chain, knowing I'd need it. Then I hid her phone back where I found it, trying not to make a scene. When she came back into the kitchen, I looked at her casually, like I hadn't just invaded her privacy. "Hey, babe," I said, voice steady. "Have you been hiding something from me?" Her face froze for a moment. "What are you talking about?" I found your emails, I said, holding up the phone. "The ones where you're planning secret weekends with your boss, the late-night meetings, the special plans." "Huh," she looked caught, her eyes darting. "It's not what you think." "Oh, I think I know exactly what I think," I snapped. "You've been lying to me from the start. Do you even realize how much I trusted you?" She started to protest, but I cut her off. "Save it. I've had enough. I'm done." I looked her straight in the eyes, feeling the cold fury spike through me. "You're not the person I thought you were. We're done, and I'm not going to let you get away with this." She stared at me, her face pale, lips trembling. "Please, it's not what it looks like. Really, because it looks like betrayal," I said. "You've been screwing your boss, lying to my face and sneaking around, and I'm supposed to just accept that." Her shoulders slumped and she looked like she wanted to disappear. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen." "Sorry doesn't cut it," I said coldly. "You had your chance. And now it's over. I want you out of my life. I want the truth, everything. You're not walking away without facing it." Her eyes welled up with tears, but I was done feeling guilty. I'd been nothing but good to her, and she'd repaid me with lies and betrayal. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. This was the moment I'd finally confront her with everything, and I knew I had to act fast before she could spin some sob story or try to run away. I told her to pack her things and leave. She begged, cried, tried to explain, but I didn't want to hear it. I was already planning my revenge. I knew that the next step was to make her see how badly she'd messed up, something she would never forget. As she gathered her things, I felt an odd mix of relief and rage. Relief that I finally knew the truth, and rage that she'd twisted my trust into nothing. I had the evidence, the plan, and now I just had to execute it. I watched her walk out the door, clutching her purse, her face streaked with tears. And I knew right then, I wasn't just ending this chapter. I was about to make her pay for what she'd done. The silence in the apartment was deafening after she left. It was like the walls themselves were judging me, whispering about how naive I'd been. I sat on the couch, staring at the phone still clenched in my hand. The evidence was all there, screenshots, emails, everything. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears, each beat a reminder that I was finally taking control of this mess. I had spent the last few days planning exactly what I was going to do with all that information. I wasn't just going to confront her again. I wanted her to feel the full weight of what she'd lost. That meant something more than just words. It meant making her regret every lie she told, every minute she spent sneaking around behind my back. I made a list. First, I was going to send her a message, something cold, calculated, no emotion, just the facts. Then I'd make sure her boss knew I had all the evidence. I wanted him to realize she'd betrayed him just as badly as she betrayed me. After that, I'd leak everything to her friends. Let them see what she'd been hiding, what she'd been doing behind their backs. I didn't care about the fallout, she deserved that much. I pulled out my phone and typed a message. "You're done, this is final, don't bother trying to contact me, everyone's going to know what you did." It wasn't a long message, it didn't need to be. I wanted it blunt, clear. I hit send and watched the message disappear. Next, I set up a meeting with her boss, someone I had known casually but never really disliked. I knew his reputation and I knew what he was capable of. I invited him to a neutral place, told him I had something to show him. No need to be subtle, I wanted him to see the proof firsthand. While waiting for that meeting, I took a deep breath. My stomach was tight, nerves buzzing. I remembered her face when she saw the evidence. The shock, the panic, the helplessness. That's what I wanted for her, to feel exposed, vulnerable. I'd always been the one in control, and now I was about to turn the tables completely. When her boss finally arrived, I laid everything out on the table, screenshots of her messages, emails detailing their plans, GPS logs proving she'd stayed at that hotel that night. I watched his expression shift from curiosity to disgust. "This is serious," he said, voice low. "Yeah," I replied. "She's been lying to all of us, and I want her gone from my life. I just thought you should know." I handed him a flash drive with all the proof, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction watching him absorb it. Then I turned my attention to her friends. I sent messages to her closest ones, sharing everything I'd uncovered. I didn't bother sugarcoating it. I told them she'd been cheating, lying, hiding behind a mask of innocence. I wanted them to see her true face before she could spin any stories. The fallout was immediate. Phone calls, texts, accusations flying everywhere. I stayed silent, watching the chaos unfold. I knew she'd lose her reputation, her trust with friends, everything she'd worked for. That was the point. She'd spent years building herself up, and I was about to tear it all down. In the quiet aftermath, I felt an odd sense of relief. It was as if I'd taken back some control. I'd lost long ago. I wasn't exactly proud of what I'd done, but I knew I had to make her understand the gravity of her betrayal. I'd never been one for revenge, but this time I refused to be the fool. The final act was simple. I went to her apartment, packed her things into a box, and left it outside her door with a note that read, "This is over. Don't come back." I handed over the keys to her landlord, making sure she had no way to come back and twist things again. And as I stood there watching her walk away from the place I'd called home for years, I realized one thing. I'd finally taken control of my life again. The betrayal had broken me for a moment, but in the end, I'd turned it into my strength. That's how I learned. Sometimes the only way to heal is to take matters into your own hands. Trust is fragile. When it's shattered, the only thing left is to rebuild or walk away with your dignity intact. The days after I handed over her things and cut ties felt strange, like waking from a nightmare I'd been living in for years. I'd finally put an end to the chaos she'd brought into my life, but the ache of betrayal still lingered heavy in my chest. I kept replaying everything, the lies, the stolen moments, the trust I'd so willingly given her. It was a bitter pill to swallow, knowing she'd been planning her escape behind my back all along. Still, I knew I had to face the aftermath. I stayed busy, working out, going for long walks, trying to clear my mind. But every so often, the memories bubbled up, her smile, her touch, her empty promises. That betrayal had cut deep, carving wounds I feared would never fully heal. Part of me wondered if I'd ever trust again, or if I'd forever be cautious, guarded, afraid of being played again. One night I sat on my balcony, cigarette in hand, watching the city lights flicker below. The cool breeze brushed against my face, trying to soothe the rawness inside. I thought about what I'd done, how I'd finally taken control, how I'd made her face her lies without mercy. It felt empowering but also hollow. Was I just as broken as I thought? Or was this what closure looked like? That's when I realized I needed to do one last thing. I owed myself a chance to move forward, unburdened by her shadow, so I made a decision. I'd leave behind the anger, the revenge, and start fresh. I'd block her number, delete her from my social media, and focus on rebuilding my life on my terms. But I also knew I couldn't just forget. I had learned some harsh truths about trust and betrayal. I'd trusted her with everything, and she'd burned me. Now I had to learn how to be cautious, how to spot red flags before they turned into wrecking balls. I wasn't naive anymore. I'd see through the lies a little quicker, trust a little less blindly. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. I'd always be by what happened, but I could choose whether those scars defined me. I could let them make me stronger or weaker. I decided I'd use this experience as a lesson, not just about her but about myself. I'd grow, even if it hurt. I reached out to a few close friends, people I knew would understand. I told them what happened, how betrayed I felt, but also how determined I was to move on. They listened, offered support and comfort that I appreciated more than I could say. I knew I wasn't alone in this, and that made a difference. There was a strange clarity in that moment, something I hadn't felt in a long time. I realized I had been giving her power over my happiness for too long. Now I was reclaiming it. No more lies, no more secrets. Just me, standing tall, ready to rebuild. Looking back, I can see now that betrayal changes you. It tests your boundaries, your trust, your patience. But it also reveals who you really are, someone capable of rising above it. I've been broken, yes, but I was also stronger than I thought. I learned that sometimes the only way forward is to cut the cord and walk away. And I did. I moved out, found a new place, started fresh. I didn't want her shadow lingering anymore. I knew that if I kept dwelling on what she did, I'd never move on, so I made a clean break. I handed over the keys, got a new phone, and started to focus on myself again. That's what mattered now, me. My peace and building a life where I could finally trust again, but this time more carefully. So here's my advice. Trust is fragile, and when it's broken, it's tempting to lash out or dwell in anger. But in the long run, the best revenge is moving forward without her. Cut her out, cut the toxicity, and focus on becoming stronger from the experience. Your happiness isn't worth living in the shadow of betrayal. Sometimes, the greatest act of revenge is simply walking away and choosing to be better. It's been a few weeks since I made that clean break. Honestly, it's been the strangest mix of relief and emptiness. The house feels bigger without her there, quieter in a way that's almost deafening. I didn't realize how much I'd been holding on to her, even after learning the truth. Now, with her gone and everything out in the open, I finally feel like I can breathe again. But I won't lie, there's been a lot of reflection. I keep replaying everything. The signs I missed, the lies I swallowed, her smile when she was hiding something. I realize I was blinding myself to red flags because I wanted so badly to believe. In us, that's probably what hurts the most. I trusted her with my future and she threw it away in a matter of months. Still, I'm trying to see this as a lesson, not just about her but about myself. I was naive, yes, but I also stayed quiet when I should have questioned more, demanded honesty. I gave her my trust way too easily, thinking people would be honest because they said they cared. Turns out, words aren't enough. Actions matter, lots of them. I've started seeing a therapist, which was a smart move. Talking about all this with someone who doesn't know me, who can give me an honest perspective, has been eye-opening. I told her about the betrayal, my revenge plan, how I felt walking away from what I thought was my future. She listened patiently, then said, "Trust is something you build carefully, and sometimes it's fragile. But it's also something you can rebuild, just more wisely this time." That stuck with me. I don't want to carry anger forever, but I do want to be cautious. I want to love again, but not blindly. I want to know myself better, to recognize warning signs before they wreck everything. I realized I'd been so eager to settle that I ignored my gut, ignored the little voice that said something was off. So I've begun to reconnect with friends I'd pushed aside during the worst days. I've also started doing things I love, reading, hiking, even taking up cooking again. It's small stuff, but it's helping me feel like I'm reclaiming my life piece by piece. I don't want to be defined by her betrayal. I want to be stronger because of it. I still get moments where I feel a stab of bitterness. When I see a couple walking hand in hand, or when I hear about a friend's engagement, I feel that pang, like I've missed out. But then I remind myself that I'm better off without her. I deserve someone who values honesty, who isn't hiding secrets under my nose. I also have to admit I've become more guarded, not closed off, but cautious. I don't rush into trusting anyone new, and that's okay. It's part of healing. I want to love again, but I want it to be real, not built on illusions. I want honesty, transparency, and I refuse to settle for less. One thing I do know for sure, my perspective on relationships has changed. I see now how important it is to listen to your instincts, to demand respect, and to walk away when something doesn't feel right. Because sometimes, no matter how much you want things to work out, staying in a toxic situation only prolongs the pain. So yeah, I'm still healing, still figuring out how to trust again. But I know this, I'm not going to let her betrayal define me. I refuse to. I'm going to keep moving forward stronger and smarter than before. Because in the end, the most powerful revenge is simply living well, without her, without the lies, and without the guilt. And that's what I plan to do. Keep building my life on honesty, respect, and the knowledge that I'm worth more than someone's lie. It's not easy, but nothing worth having ever is. And I'm finally starting to believe I deserve real happiness on my own terms. Today, I finally feel like I've reclaimed a part of myself I thought was lost forever. I've handed over the keys, signed the papers, and made it clear that I'm moving on. The apartment's empty now, just a shell of what was once a home filled with promises, now just memories I refuse to carry anymore. I took that final step, and honestly, it's liberating. There's a certain clarity in closing that chapter, in knowing I won't be looking back. I went to her place today, put the last of her things into a box, and left it on her doorstep with a simple note. It's over. Don't come back. I handed the keys to her landlord, watched her walk away, and felt the weight of everything finally lift. For the first time in a long while, I felt in control, not a victim of her lies or manipulations. I'd made my choice, and I had no regrets. Sitting here now, I realize that betrayal changes you. There's no denying it. But it also teaches you. It teaches you to listen to your instincts, to value honesty, and to never ignore the warning signs again. Most importantly, it teaches you that your worth isn't tied to someone else's lies. I learned all of that the hard way, but I'm grateful for it now. It's made me stronger, wiser, more aware. Looking back, I see how much I'd sacrificed, how much I'd ignored because I wanted to believe in us. But I also see the resilience in myself, how I managed to pick up the pieces, confront the truth, and walk away. That takes guts. It's not easy to face betrayal, to turn away from someone you loved, but I did it, and I did it for me. I've started rebuilding my life. It's slow, it's imperfect, and some days are tougher than others. But I'm learning again how to trust carefully, how to love cautiously, how to believe that I'm worth genuine loyalty and respect. And that in itself is a kind of victory. My advice to anyone out there going through something similar: don't ignore those red flags. Don't let your hopes blind you to the truth. When someone shows you who they really are, believe it. Trust your gut. It's usually right. And when betrayal comes, don't dwell in anger or shame. Use it as fuel to rebuild, to grow, to become better than you were. Because in the end, the greatest revenge isn't what you do to someone else. It's how you choose to live after they've hurt you. It's about rising from the ashes, stronger and more self-aware. It's about believing in yourself enough to walk away, knowing you deserve better. So I walked away today with my head held high. I handed over the keys, closed that door behind me, and stepped into a future I control. No more lies, no more secrets, just me, finally free. And that's all I needed to know. The real power lies in walking away and choosing your happiness, even if it's hard. Because nobody else gets to decide your worth, only you do.